What's up, everybody? Michael F. Florio from NFL Fantasy here, and there's no time to waste. The 2021 season is fastly approaching, so without further ado, here are my top 10 players from 10 to 1 for the 2021 season. Coming in at number 10 is Rams running back Cam Akers. Cam Akers looked like he was set free late last season as he just took over that Rams backfield and was really running away with the job. And he played over 80% of the snaps in the playoffs. And what I like most about him is the new quarterback with Matt Stafford, I think, is going to open up this offense a lot. First, he throws the running backs about 10% more, and he's a more downfield thrower, which should open up things near the line of scrimmage. At number 9 is someone that I was really high on last year, Austin Eckler. And last year, he produced. In games where he stayed healthy and Justin Herbert started, he averaged 19 fantasy points, nearly 8 targets per game, 6.5 catches, and over 100 yards per game. And he had a 20% target share in those games. But what I love about him the most is that because of the hamstring injury he suffered last year, you get him for even cheaper this year than you could last year. At number 8, it's Davante Adams. And listen, Davante Adams is as elite can come. He averaged 25.6 fantasy points per game in 2020. That was the 6th most ever by a wide receiver in NFL history. And he has scored at least 16 fantasy points in 83% of his games since the 2018 season. Again, he is just as elite as they come. Do not hesitate to draft him in the first round. At number 7, this one might seem like a surprise to some, but Travis Kelce. I think that the tight ends, the top 3, are worth paying for, and Travis Kelce is like having a top 5 wide receiver, but at the thinnest position in fantasy football, and he just keeps getting better. Last year, he posted a career high in catches, yards, TDs, and fantasy points. At number 6, it's Saquon Barkley. And listen to me, I'm just going to say, do not forget about how great Saquon Barkley is. Yes, he missed a lot of time in 2020 due to a torn ACL, but last I checked, a torn ACL does not make you injury prone. And when Saquon Barkley's been on the field, all he has been is productive. I think he can go anywhere from picks 3 through 6 in the first round because what he has shown us when he's on the field. He has topped 1,400 yards and at least 50 catches in both of his healthy seasons and finished as a top 10 back in both, including the RB1 in his rookie season. Coming in at number 5, it's Derrick Henry, and he's someone I've been low on in the past, but I am righting that wrong in 2021, having him in the top 5. Look, he rushed for over 2,000 yards last year and 17 touchdowns. His touches, yards, and fantasy points just continue to increase every year. Will that change next year after his career year? Maybe. The biggest thing, too, is the new offensive coordinator. Maybe he runs less, but maybe they'll throw the ball to Derrick Henry. So I like him there. Coming in at number 4 is Alvin Kamara, who has just been awesome ever since he's been drafted into the NFL. He's been a top 10 running back since he stepped on an NFL field, and he finishes the RB1 in 2020. But the big question is, who is going to be his quarterback? Is he going to be able to get 80-plus catches for a 5th straight season? That is still to be determined. So for right now, I think he is the riskiest player in the first round, but just knowing how good he is, I still think he deserves to be a first-round talent. And coming in at number 3 is my guy, all aboard the Jonathan Taylor hype train, because it is set to take off in 2021. We got a dose of what a set-free Jonathan Taylor could look like down the stretch last year, and it was amazing. He finishes the RB6 in an up-and-down rookie year where he struggled to see the fields at times, but down the stretch, they really hitched their wagon to him and ran the offense through him, and we saw what he could do. So this year, running once again behind a great O-line, I have him ranked as the number 3 player, but he showed us last year he's a better pass catcher than we gave him credit for. So with all of that said, it would not surprise me at all if he finishes as the top scoring fantasy player in the 2021 season. Coming in at number 2 for me is Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook belongs in the first overall pick discussion, but I have him number 2 overall. He has shown us the last 2 years that he can stay healthy, that he is in fact durable, and it has just been amazing to watch. He finishes the RB2 in 2020, but was a top 6 running back in each of the last 2 years. And for those who say he can't hold up, he led the NFL in touches per game last year. So don't worry about that. Draft him 2nd overall. And my number 1 player heading into the 2021 season is The same guy it's been the last 2 years. It is Christian McCaffrey for me. He is just, do not forget how great this guy is just because he had an injury-plagued 2020 season. It was a couple of different nagging injuries that really hampered him. But in 2019, he scored the second most fantasy points in NFL history behind only 2006 LaDainian Tomlinson. He missed being the RB1 in 2018 by less than a point, and that was only because he was pulled the final week of the season. Oh, and he has the record for most catches in a year by a running back, and the second most catches in a season by a running back. No one brings the same combination of a high floor and a high ceiling quite like Christian McCaffrey. So for those reasons, for the third year in a row, I will be taking him number 1 overall in 2021 in all my drafts that I'm lucky enough to get the first pick. But to round it all out, here is once again my top 10 players for the 2021 season. You could see there a lot of running backs, and that is by design because I think the running back position really thins out after the first 2 rounds, and wide receiver is as deep as ever. So for me, give me lots of running backs in the early rounds of these drafts, and that's why 8 of the top 10 players for me are running backs. But there were some honorable mentions I wanted to include, some guys who just missed. Another running back in Nick Chubb. Chubb is just awesome. He finished as an RB1 last year despite missing 4 games, but the reason I have him just outside the top 10 is because Kareem Hunt is still a very talented back there who is going to eat into the work, especially in the passing game. So that just worries me a little bit about Chubb. And then I have Tyreek Hill coming in at number 12. He is awesome, and I think he should be the second wide receiver off the board. Again, he's tied to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in that dynamic offense. You have no worries with Tyreek Hill. The only reason he's not in my top 10 is because I think wide receiver is the deepest position in fantasy and running back really thins out. So I want to get my running backs early. And because of that, just because of his position, Tyreek Hill comes just outside the top 10, but he should still be a top 12 player off the board in my opinion. That's going to do it for me here. But if you want more content like this, you make sure to download the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. You can get it at nfl.com/podcast or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you want more, even more, and you're still not sick and tired of my face yet, you can get our videos on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/NFL Fantasy Football and make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching.